Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. In this episode, we're gonna continue going around making connections where needed and improving transportation between cities, analyzing it with the destination tools to identify what roads need upgraded, what roads need built, and any other things like that. But before we do that, I want to come back to Mesquite. After seeing some recommendations in the comments, we are going to add another bus line through Mesquite because we have 3 separate loops, one up top, one in the middle, and one at the bottom of the city here. We should have another line that runs sort of north and south through Mesquite so that these 3 lines can be easily moved across, and it's a lot easier to go from this side of the city over to this side. So in order to do that, we're going to grab just a few buses. We don't need too many for the line we are thinking of. And we're going to start up here at the train station. We're going to come down and stop here just because this is a pretty high demand stop. We're going to stop here at our main station. And then I think we're going to have our final stops be down here. And it looks like everything looks okay with our loops. It does get a little weird up here, but that's just because of the lack of connections we have. But I think this loop will help people a lot with going across the city. Alright, so the first thing I want to do in this episode is redo the bus network here in Huntsville. This is another city that yet hasn't really had any upgrades or expansions in its bus network really since we first set it up. So that's going to be what we do here. So getting rid of all of these stops. We'll also get rid of this bus station because we don't really need it there anymore. Just go through, delete all these, and then right here across the train station, we will add a bus station so we can have multiple lines running through here. So we'll just rotate this to get it set up. And we'll get this back as far to the road as possible. Just like that. So we also get some connection to the city with the little bit of connection to the road on the other side. But now that we have this station down, we can set up our loops. So for the first one, we're going to go for this sort of upper area of Huntsville. So we'll start over here and just work our way around. Now, this city is very spread out, so I'm not too sure if we're going to be able to cover every piece of the city with our bus stops, but we can at least get pretty close. I think we'll just have one more here, and that'll be this loop. As for the next loop, we'll cover most of this area. So we'll bring it down and get a stop around here. I want to try to keep them off of this road, but I suppose we can always upgrade it to have bus lanes, which we might do, or we could just add a stop here and we'll follow this small street around and through this whole portion. So this should be pretty straightforward as we bring it back. I think that'll be the last station we put for there. And then the last one we're going to have coming out of this station is going to cover this area. So what we can then do is have one here, one over here, and then maybe just one more right here. And now we should be able to adjust this line. So we just select it, manage line, remove all the stops, and then start from scratch. So this is what our first line is going to look like. I think that covers pretty much everything. We'll also manage these vehicles and replace them with, let's go with these buses here. We maybe don't need quite so many, so we'll sell just a few of them. And we should be able to let this start running so these buses can get spread out. We'll get some more buses. We'll stick with 15. And this will cover the lower side of the city, much like we had placed before. I believe that covers everything. And then finally, just a few more buses to place on the other side of the tracks here. So that should be good. I think we'll be okay with 3 lines running through one station. Although I suppose it doesn't hurt to just add another platform on each side. So let's just do that. And then we can have some of these passenger buildings that'll fit really nicely right in that little area. So now we'll just move one of these to a different terminal. And we should be good with our buses here. Alright, now as I was just going through the map, I noticed for some reason this road has a ton of trucks stuck here and a bunch of traffic, presumably trying to get to Santa Clara. And I think really the best way to deal with this is just a roundabout, because that'll keep things moving. So I don't think the traffic light is really prioritizing this road, which is a little odd considering that's where most of the trucks are going. But this should just be a very quick, easy, simple solution just by adding a smallish roundabout that will allow the traffic to continuously move through this area. So we can place that down, and we can grab our 4-lane roads and just connect them up to the roundabout, where now everything should continuously flow through this area and we don't have to worry about our goods getting backed up and stuck coming to this cargo hub over here. Alright, so one connection I think definitely should be made is between Tucson and Santa Clara. We don't have a straightforward public transportation connection between these two cities. We do have a loop that connects Tucson to Cedar Rapids and Cedar Rapids to Santa Clara, but not a direct line, so that results in people preferring to drive their cars on this highway as opposed to taking the train or any other way between those cities. And we can see that has followed and backed up all the way into the city of Tucson. So that's something that we need to fix. And I think that's something that we are probably able to pretty easily fix just by adding a bus line that runs straight from Santa Clara into the city of Tucson. And we're going to connect this up at the train stations to hopefully encourage people to take the public transportation between those two cities. So, although that might not solve all of the issues, with people coming from Tucson to Santa Clara. Hopefully, the people that are choosing to drive might see it as a better option to take the train and then the bus, or maybe even all the people on this side of Tucson would then take the bus over to Santa Clara. Now, considering that we did just add a third line here, I think we should have a bus station here instead of just a stop. So we'll quickly throw that in here, add some capacity to it, and we need to switch up these terminals. But I think that should be good then. We just have to wait for all these passengers to relocate, and everything should go back to functioning normally again. And while we're in the area, I think one thing we need to do in Cedar Rapids is add a bus lane to our main road here, because none of our buses are able to get around, and that's definitely not having a good effect on the rest of the city. So now that we have our bus lanes through here, hopefully these buses will be able to start circulating through and around the city in a way that shouldn't keep them all held up in traffic. And I think we might even upgrade this road, and that might get our line here to prefer this road. Actually, no, it won't because of this stop here. But that's fine. We have a bus lane now, so the buses should be able to travel around pretty uninterrupted, at least along the main road. There might be some areas where there's still issues. And looking back at our train stations here, we still have tons of people waiting to take our line that runs this way across the map. Despite us even just recently adding more trains, there's tons of demand for people to travel on it. I think they're mostly trying to get to Clearwater, and just coming up and checking at the demand in Durham. Although we did just have a train stop here, so there's very, very clearly need for maybe one or even two more trains running on this line. So we already have 7. I think we duplicate this again, we'll get 8. Hopefully 8 will be enough. With trains, I don't want to go crazy and add a ton of them, just because that could just turn the whole line into not making a profit when the trains start running half full everywhere, and especially when there's not that much demand coming from Louisville and Durham. We don't want our trains wasting money by just traveling half empty on this side of the line. And I think one of the last things we're going to do in this episode is redo our main bus station here in Lexington. Having it come off the main road is not working for us. We can see we have tons of buses waiting and tons of people waiting, and these buses just can't leave the station fast enough or frequently enough to be effective in any way in terms of keeping up with the demand. So we will place the new station here, coming off of this side street, which should keep all the buses out of the main flow of traffic as they come in and out of this station. We can extend these platforms a tiny bit, although we might not really need it. And then what we can do is place back some passenger buildings in order to keep the high demand flowing through here. And then of course we just have to switch the terminals. And let's just double check and make sure these lines look like they're going to be functioning normally. Yeah, so these lines look like they'll function just fine this way. It does look like some of the buses will have to get on this road. So maybe if we can somehow provide a connection from this intersection, if we can get this to snap and connect to one of the roads over here, then maybe we could get the buses to come this way instead of trying to get in the lane that's blocked by all of the cars, which it does look like it just automatically updated, so that's great. And I believe that means our major bus lines aren't getting stuck on these major road networks here. As for our trucks here are pretty much going to be stuck like that for now. I think it's still operating well enough for us to leave it as it is. And it doesn't look like there's any issues over on this end of it. But getting these buses working again should definitely help out with the traffic here in Lexington and hopefully get some more people off of this road so it can then free up this intersection here. Now, one thing I think we'll do is come back to our boat network and add some shuttle boat lines coming out of Lexington to Corpus Christi, and then maybe even another one that comes all the way out to Alexandria. Just because these hover boats that we have are really quick and they are carrying a good amount of people, and they're also very efficient. If we look at the finances on the entire line, we can see it's consistently making a profit while still most of the time not even being full. So I think we could definitely afford to get a few of these running around. That'll help promote more boat movement across the map. So we'll come here and we'll grab some of these boats. We'll grab probably 4 of them, maybe 5. And this will just create a new line between Lexington and Corpus Christi. I know that creates a competing line between one of the ones we already have, but I think a shuttle service would probably work a little bit better and increase some of the demand there. And then grabbing probably 5 more and having them also go from Lexington directly over to Alexandria. So while we're here in Lexington, I think we're going to increase the amount of buses on each one of these lines just to make sure we're clearing out the demand where it needs. So we'll get 4 more on this line to hopefully help move people from the train station and some of these other higher demand stations. And then I think on this one, if you look at how many vehicles we have, we might bring this up to an even 20, just because this side of Lexington seems to be much higher in demand for passenger traffic than some of the other areas of the city. So getting more buses connecting to these more important stations will be definitely helpful. So for now, I think that's pretty much all we're going to do. Next episode, I think we're going to look at Corpus Christi and figure out our transit situation here, because if we look, Corpus Christi is just a mess at the moment. There's traffic pretty much everywhere. All of our buses are stuck on this road. So next episode, we're going to come into Corpus Christi and figure out how we're going to fix, or at least address, a lot of the issues here. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.